Big Drive Energy Live. It's Major Week. The 125th, I believe. 125th United States Open at Oakmont Country Club in Pennsylvania. Pretty close to your neck of the woods and where I'll be this weekend. We're expecting absolute carnage. We've seen all the videos from the week of the rough, the green speeds, the players' interviews. We're going to talk about all that. We've got pairings, and we're going to discuss the weather report. As always, we're going to send it over to Mitchell. I hope you've been working on your Pennsylvania accent for this weather report. We'll give you our picks for the week. And of course, because it's Wednesday, we've got a What the Fuck Wednesday, all coming to you in 30 seconds. All right, let's tee it up. It's Major Week, the United States Open, and maybe my favorite major of the year consistently. And I'll tell you why. This may be a hot take. I know the Masters, everybody loves the Masters. But for me, this is so cool because of all the qualifying that goes into it, all the different random players, the high school kids shooting 63 to get in, the dentist that got in and is going to fire 90 plus, just all of the different stories that come out of the qualifying. And even guys like Max Homa and Cam Young and PGA Tour pros, PGA Tour winners that have to go and Monday qualify for this thing. Our boy, friend of the program, Mark Hubbard, going up and dominating in Canada again to get in the field. Like, there's just so many players from so many different areas, and it's not this, oh, you got invited on this special little card to the Masters. And I'm not saying the Masters isn't better, but I love the U.S. Open for all the stories that come out of the week. And I love the fact that the courses are rotating and they're tough. They're very tough. I've heard multiple times say maybe this is the hardest golf course in its current condition on the planet. So what do you think of my take of the U.S. Open being my favorite major? Is this just recency bias?
Yeah, your favorite major is always the next one. That is pretty true with everything. We're very much in a society where your favorite thing is always the next thing. We live in a era of instant gratification, and I am totally down with that. I mean, besides the PGA Championship, like we've ranked on the the Golfer Gang Network roundtables. I was just drawing a blank there on the roundtable pods that we've done. The first one, we had like 30 of us in it because it was for the Masters, and they had us all rank our majors 1 through 4, and the PGA Championship got picked 4th literally by every single person. So it's not even necessarily a question. But then I would say that the U.S. Open and the Masters battled it out for first pick amongst most people. I am one of the weird randos that just loves the Open Championship, although it's one of those things where it's like when you do something on a Sunday afternoon and you're thinking about it, but then Sunday afternoon gets there and you're like, God, it's almost fucking Monday. Like, that's how the Open Championship feels because it's the last major of the year. You're like, wow, we don't have another major for 8 months now. It just feels like such a letdown. But yeah, the U.S. Open, like you said, is one of the coolest events because if you have a three handicap, I think is the limit, you can sign up for a local qualifier, play your ass off, get through that, and then go to the sectionals, play your ass off for 36 holes, and you can be playing in a major championship. And that it is truly one of the hardest things to do. I've tried multiple times, never got out of the locals, got very close a few times. But on paper, you're like, I'm 3 phenomenal rounds away from a major. Now, what other major can you really like say that about? For anybody to be able to just go out and do that is super cool shit. Like you said, there's so many random guys in this event. Like, we interviewed Colin Prater last year. It was Colin Prater, correct?
Yeah.
That fucking high school teacher from Colorado Springs played in the U.S. Open at Pinehurst. Like, a lot of people may not remember that, but that's going to be a story that you have for the rest of your life. You know, that is, if you qualify for the U.S. Open, that is a feather in your cap you have forever. So yeah, I totally agree. The amount of storylines in the U.S. Open are, it's just like one giant Monday qualifier, you know. And on paper, this is the best day for all those qualifiers because it's similar to the Cleveland Browns in the summertime. Like, it gives them a chance to think that they could be good. Now, they go out and play the front nine at Oakmont and fire 42. Their chances are going to be effectively cooked. But before you start out, literally anything is possible. And I do think, I said it on the roundtable, I do think we're going to have a guy that not necessarily is like a lower tier, you know, sectional guy or an amateur, but I do think we'll have like a mid-tier dude, and I just don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know who that is. But there will be a dude that just plays his ass off that is a relative no-name, like an Alex Smalley. Like that's a name that just falls into my head. But of that, you know, stature and that holding in the on the PGA Tour, that's kind of that middle of the road dude that just has a crazy good week, and it's going to be a memorable one for whoever that is. I just wish I knew, you know, just give me a fucking time traveling machine and I could be a gazillionaire.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you talked about it on the roundtable too, but the other part about the US Open being so fun for me and so fun for the fan and somebody watching the golf, not necessarily playing in it, is the amount of bogeys that are going to be made this week is going to be insane. But it's the guys that are saving pars or just saving bogeys. And really what you talked about too, which is exactly how I feel, is the fact that the leaderboard will probably be so bunched up unless you get some guy on a generational 4 rounds where he's like 4 or 5 under and the rest of the group's at even par. You could have a stretch of 3 holes where you hit 3 really good golf shots. If you're within 2 or 3 of the lead, you could be T40, and all of a sudden you could be leading the US Open with a couple of back-to-back or back-to-back-to-back birdies. Not saying that's going to happen, or, you know, just easy to make back-to-back-to-back birdies at a golf course like Oakmont. But when there's 10 to 15 guys, just like last week at the RBC Canadian Open, now that tournament didn't mean as much. The winning that tournament, excuse me, Jesus, winning that tournament didn't mean as much as winning a US Open will mean, because this means you're in the history of golf as one of the major champions. But you never know. Like Kevin Yu last week when he chipped in for eagle, I believe, or hold it for eagle on the second or third hole, all of a sudden he's leading. Shane Lowry goes 4 under through the first 5 or 5 under through the first 4, and he's leading the event. So that's what I expect to see coming into the weekend of this event, is a lot of guys that have a chance with a good 3 to 4 hole stretch that they put together.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest ask this week out of anybody is, dear God, Scottie Scheffler, will you please just let other guys compete? Will you just stick around long enough to make this fun for us? Because he is going to set the tone. Whatever he goes out and funny enough, like, I know this is definitely not a mid-level tour event by any means. This is a major, and so he's going to be fully prepared. But what was the event where everyone and their mother was betting on him? He was like plus 150 to win, and he almost missed the cut. Was that in Fort Worth? Was that the Valero?
I believe so. Yeah, that was and then he had kind of made some noise on the weekend, or was that one? That was the one where he was like 6 shots out of the lead and still the favorite going into like Saturday night.
Yeah. He finished top 5, but he made the cut on the number, I think. So pretty classic Scottie fashion. But it just has a feel of, you know, if I would love to see Scottie like 3 or 4 back going into Saturday. That would be prime cinema, where he's obviously going to make his run. He feels inevitable. It's not if, it's when. But please just don't go fire 68 on day 1 and have a 7-shot lead and it's fucking over. And I do think that there are plenty of other guys capable of sticking around, but it is truly the biggest tournament of how few mistakes can you make. You know, it's not about capitalizing on all the birdies. It's about hitting greens, hitting fairways, hitting greens, and 2-putting. and, you know, getting up and down from a shitty lie, or even saving a bogey from a terrible spot. That it is how disciplined can you be, and how few mistakes can you make? And that's what Scottie Scheffler has just shown, that he is worlds above everyone else at, time and time again.
Exactly. And there is one crazy bet. So we'll get to our picks at the end of the podcast for this week. Love the
Oh, the
major
bogey
picks.
free.
Yes, I took that for $1. One bean. I have one singular bean on a bogey-free 72 holes. Please God, Scottie, make that happen for me to win $500. But yeah, plus 50,000, which is insane.
I saw plus 90,000 on another book. I think it was
Shit.
or maybe was it 90,000, or did they have it at 9,000? Because that
There's no
9,000.
way it's only 9,000. That's
I was
not
going to
worth
say
your...
9 seems low, but 90 seems high. I don't know. Maybe I'm in between those two. But yeah, either way, the bogey free bet is just insanity. I don't know if it's going to stand through the front 9. Like, when these dudes are all done with day one, I don't think there will be a single bogey free guy.
No, but it's an electric fun bet to make, and just watch
Yeah.
and see. Like, I bet you it doesn't make it through Thursday, but if we make it through Thursday with like 2 or 3 guys that didn't make a bogey, it'll be kind of like a little bit of a sweat. Maybe I can get a cash out on that at some point off my one bean. I can turn my singular bean into like 10.
I don't think they're going to give you a cash out on that until like 2 holes left in the tournament. You know, they're going to be like, the 18th is a 500-yard par 4. I think we're going to fucking hold on to our pennies until then. But yeah, it is a crazy golf course. So give me your opinion. Or do you want to get into some of the golf course stuff?
Yeah, let's start with the golf course. Talk about Oakmont. It is hosting its 10th U.S. Open, so that's a record setter. It's now hosted the most U.S. Opens of any golf course in the world, and America, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. Obviously, the United States Open.
But that's like when you say the NBA champions are world champions. If it's the U.S. Open, it is the world. You know, they've hosted the most U.S. Opens in the entire world. That is a fact.
Yeah, that is also a fact. Don't tell the Olympian Noah Lyles about that. Let's not talk about the U.S. Open being the best golfer in the world. It's strictly just the United States, apparently.
Right.
But let's talk about the golf course. Very long, over 7,300 yards and a par 70. If you're online at all or seen anything all week, you know how tough this golf course is apparently going to play. Do you think all of the hype of how tough it's going to play is actually going to live out? Because we've got a couple 650-yard par 5s, which normally par 5s for the pros are scoring holes. You expect, 630, 640 that's not sea level, but borderline sea level is going to be tough to get into. And then maybe the most popular and most talked about hole of the week is the 289-yard par 3, which I've heard a lot of complaints about. And as a player, I would 100% complain about it. But as a fan, I think I'm kind of into it. For 1 week, for a one-off, I think it's fun. And I know Victor Hovland talked about how it's stupid, and Rory McIlroy talked about how, they're basically saying shorter par 3s are more fun. And I don't disagree. When you have a 112-yard hole that guys can just fire at, especially all of the best players in the world at a major, it makes it a lot more fun. But for the viewer, watching a 289-yard par 3 is going to be hilarious. And there's guys hitting driver on it. Some of the shorter guys are going to hit driver, and most of the guys there's a head cover coming off for everybody, I would imagine, every single time, unless you get it downwind a little bit and somebody thinks they can hit 3 or 4 iron there. But what are your thoughts on just the golf course in general? Do you think it's going to play as tough as everybody's building it up to be, like every single year at the U.S. Open this entire week?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with making it that tough is the weather has to cooperate to really firm the greens out, to firm the fairways out, where if you land a ball in the wrong side of the fairway, it could roll into the rough and then you're just getting bent. But it looks like it's going to be very soft, unfortunately. And I hope it doesn't get to the point where there's standing water, because the USGA is not going to do lift, clean, and place at the U.S. Open. Like, they are just going to have to deal. But if it is that rainy, this thick rough is going to be borderline unplayable. Like, I saw a few tour guys say, send a 5 handicap out there and see what they'd shoot. And then a few responses were, I legitimately don't think they'd finish in 7 hours unless you have spotters. Like, these guys are losing balls in the rough, just 5 yards off the fairway. They can't find him. I saw a video of Tyrrell Hatton. He was kind of like combing it over the lie to how it originally was, you could hardly see the golf ball. And he was 5 yards out of the rough. So if you add water to that thick ass rough, it is going to be borderline impossible to get out of. It is an instant penalty stroke when you hit it in the rough, which is just insane. And do you like the U.S. Open just being, I don't want to say it's a one-trick pony, but it feels like the rough is pretty much the teeth of this. The greens are going to be tough, but Michael Kim tweeted about it. He said these greens are not anything that we haven't seen. They're not lightning quick, and if they're wet, they're not going to be able to get them lightning quick, even by the weekend. And it looks like, I'll have the weather report. I'm trying to work on my Yinzer accent in my head right now. All I have is down, like that, down at Oakmont. But that's all I really got there. I can't talk like I'm from Pittsburgh. But if it's raining all week, then the course is just going to be too soft. And you might actually end up seeing relatively low scores to what you'd think they would be shooting if these guys are just hitting fairways and hitting greens, because the greens should soften up a little bit and slow down a little bit. So depending on how much it rains, that it's kind of in God's hands at this point. But do you think just the rough being the one crazy thing is like cool, or do you wish there was more to it?
No, I think it's enough for, because there's so many professional golf events and there's so many different types of events that the U.S. Open kind of has its thing. And the thick rough, being able to not really find your ball when you're borderline right on top of it, makes it fun, because not only of the guys hitting the shots out of the rough and seeing what they can do out of 5-inch thick rough, but the choices that you have to make on the tee box and the way that changes how guys will play it. I mean, Bryson, I was looking at course comparisons, and it's funny. I was reading a really good article from Run Rick Good on Twitter, and he said there's really nothing like Oakmont to compare it to. He said did you know the greens are the second only to Kapalua in terms of square footage on the PGA Tour, and they feature a Bermuda POA blend, which you will not find anywhere else in the world. And they were expanded in 2024 as a part of a restoration project at Oakmont Country Club. But he said winged foot is like the closest that you can compare it to. And that's kind of where, if you remember, where Bryson kind of changed the game of golf at the U.S. Open at winged foot when he won it, because he said nobody can hit it out of the rough anyways. So I might as well hit it as far as I can, even if nobody can hold the fairways anyways. So I might as well hit it as far as I can and hit a 60-yard shot into the green out of the 5-inch thick rough than a 160-yard shot, but trying to hit the fairway with an iron off the tee. And I love the fact that they won't just be able to, even if your ball just misses the fairway by a little bit, it's not a guarantee that they'll just be able to get it up onto the green and make a par or make a birdie or whatever. And I think all of it, the toughness of it, just brings me back to, yes, the players don't particularly love it. We've got some quotes that we'll get to from the players, and I actually want to play a little video of the DP World Tour did a good job of tweeting out what they thought like 18 handicaps would shoot on this course and some players' answers. So we'll get to that in a second. But it just brings everybody into play and bunches the leaderboard up. Yes, you're going to have 50 to 60 guys that shoot 80. And I'm going on record saying this. I think 90 is in play this week for somebody Thursday or Friday. Obviously, they're going to miss the cut. But I do think 90 is in play this week for somebody that qualified. I'm going to go on record with that, and hopefully
I don't even think 90 is a question. I would say closer to 100. I mean, we saw Nick Dunlap fire 90, and he's a fucking full-blown PGA Tour winner. Like, 90 is not crazy. If you throw out 3 or 4 triple bogeys, 90 gets there quick. So I could see somebody, let's call our high round of the week right now. I'm going 94.
I'm going to say 92.
Okay.
92 is the high.
Yeah, I mean, if you shoot triple digis, they have to like go post-mortem, like remove you from future qualifying, unfortunately. And that is crazy, because these guys are all obviously world-class players, but I do think you combine the stage of these guys playing in their first major, and if you're hitting it wonky off the tee, the pace of play is going to be very interesting this week. I'm curious how many volunteers are going to have out there. Like, you're going to have both sides of every hole lined with volunteers so you don't lose a ball in the rough. And how many times are we going to watch these guys, if you leave it in the rough the first time, or twice, who knows if you're going rough to leaving it in the rough? Are these guys, that's where it's going to be interesting. Are these guys just going to take their medicine and chip out directly, or how much of how big of a bite are they trying to take? Like, can I get this thing 70, 80, 90 yards down the fairway and at least give myself a wedge in versus hitting a 6-iron or a 5-iron from back here? Like, it is truly the risk reward, and just de-risking yourself. If I don't think that's a word, but removing
risk.
Yeah, risk management is going to be paramount this week.
Yeah. All right. So real quick, I want to play this video. Speaking of high scores, because this is some tour pros talking about how high a 18 handicap would go at Oakmont if they finished is some of the answers. But real quick, one last rapid fire question. What is the highest score on a singular hole this week? I'm going to go with 12. I'm going to go with there's a 12 out there on a par 5. And if there's, let's say this, okay, 12 may be the highest score for me, but I think somebody makes an 8 on a par 3. So which would be, I mean, that's not as bad as a 12 on a par 5, but I think a snowman on a par 3, maybe even that 289-yard one, is very much in play this week. So what's your highest score on a singular hole? Price is Right me?
No, I'll go 11. I think an 11 is a good number. I'm gonna take that back. I'm gonna go 9. I'm gonna say 9. So a quad on a par 5, because there's really no like hazards out here. It looks like, you're not gonna lose really balls. Like Matthew Pavon made a 12 last week at the Canadian Open, but I think he dumped 3 in the water or 4 in the water. So there's really no hazards to speak of where, unless you're losing balls in the rough or anything, relatively speaking, it's not going to be a course where you can't get it down in 8 or 9 shots. I mean, that sounds crazy to say, but I think they'll be able to keep the ball in front of them. But that might even be more frustrating because you're like, I teed off with the same ball that I finished with, and I still shot 87. Like, that shit will send you through the roof, as good players as those guys are. So I think at 9, I don't think it quite gets double digits.
All right, let's play this video from the DP World Tour Twitter account and see what PGA Tour and Live Tour golfers think the 18 handicaps would shoot at Oakmont Country Club.
Probably 100 on the front 9.
If they finish, it's got to be 110 to 120. 120.
I'm why?
I mean, the greens are so slick and slopey, and the rough is, I mean, we can barely get out of the rough, so I think an 18 handicap wouldn't be able to get out of the rough, so I don't know if that's ridiculous or generous. I'm not sure. I don't know. Hopefully someone can experiment and average it out for us, but it's a lot.
150.
And why?
Because they would just struggle. I mean, it's difficult out there. Like the rough, most 18 handicappers typically don't have the greatest control off the tee box. They're probably hitting this wipey cut into the right rough. Then they've got no knowledge of how to hit the angle of attack on some of these, so they're just hitting these shots and they're coming out way left, so they're going to be beaming the ball across back and forth. 150 I feel like is very, very good for an 18 marker. So, I mean, a legit 18 marker. So yeah, 150 I think is pretty solid.
Not trying to wind people up, right? But it will. I'm certain they wouldn't finish, and I'm not trying to be facetious and wind people up, but if they had to hit every golf shot and they're going out with 12 balls, I don't know an 18 handicap who finishes that.
I'll meet you right back here.
So there you go.
18 handicapper, man, no ball spotter. Better bring a few dozen balls. It's got to be 140. Has to be. I mean, and that's just playing conservative, bunting it in front of them 50 yards, 50 yards, 50 yards, 50 yards. I think it's got to be plenty.
Bother me.
I know a lot. I don't want to put a number on those guys.
Roughly?
I don't want. No, I'm not putting any pressure on anybody, but it'd be a lot. So if he actually plays off 18, I don't think. Yeah, I wouldn't be backing him to shoot a great score.
I am going to say 110, maybe. Well, actually no, 120. It's just the rough. Like, the guy's going to struggle. They won't hit it that far. I mean, miles from the green in the rough, they'll just be in the rough all day. And then on these greens, it's tough for me. It's tough for all of us. So yeah, it would be interesting to see what they actually shot. But I reckon between 110 and 120.
The DP World Tour does a great job of those videos, by the way, getting a lot of the big name European guys to do those videos. But whose answer would you most agree with?
Well, I think one of the things that resonated with me is when Rosie was talking about just bunting it like 50 yards in front of you, like that. If you could just get someone to do that, I think that would be their best chance. And then Jason Day.
But the problem is hitting the fairway off the tee. Like, if you don't hit the fairway off the tee, you're in hell already. So that's, if you get it in the fairway, then you could bunt it down the fairway, sure. But if you're in the rough to begin with, then how many strokes is it taking you to get out of the rough? Like, I guess if you extrapolate it out, I would say it's an average of a triple bogey per hole. So that's 54 over. So yeah, that's like 125. Average of triple bogey per hole, maybe more. So it is crazy to think that if they didn't have spotters, a dozen balls probably would not be enough. And there is nothing. It happened to me the other day. I know the area my ball is in, and it's not even that thick of rough, and you can't find it. Nothing pisses you off more than that. If I went and played Oakmont by myself and had nobody keeping an eye on my ball except for me, you would easily lose a dozen balls just hitting it in the rough, and that would send me over the edge. I don't think I could do that. So yeah, they would easily, an 18 handicap would use more than a dozen balls without a question.
Yeah, well, and that's the other question part of it too, the qualifier. I think they talked about it being U.S. Open, not only conditions, obviously that's part of the deal, but the having spotters, I think, is a huge thing too. Like, if you have a bunch of spotters that are going and finding your ball, I think that makes it a little easier. But I don't think if you're just hitting your own golf ball and walking up and trying to find it, I think that number can easily get into the 150 to 200 range, and no questions asked. And I love Jason Day was funny. I love how he just called out every 18 handicap saying they hit a wipey cut. Like, it's just the natural, like, every golfer that's like a average to bogey golfer just hits a wipey cut. And that's kind of the facts of the matter. It's just facts. Like, as much as you want to say, like, I don't think there's an 18 handicap that I know, or even like a higher than like a 10, 12 that doesn't hit a draw, or like hits a draw. Nobody, you have to get like, I don't know, maybe there's a handicap limit on a draw. I would say it's maybe 6 or 7. What are your thoughts on that? Like, just in general, I know it's a extremely open-ended question that there's no actual facts to back it up and make an answer to. But I think if you're higher than a 7 or 8 handicap, there's no way you're consistently hitting a draw.
No, I would agree with that. Everybody, if you just say 18 handicap, I can immediately picture in my mind what your game looks like. Now, when you get into those lower handicaps, not every, 4 or 5 handicap is made equal, but unfortunately, most 18 to 20 handicaps are made pretty equal, and it's just not good quality. I will say, though, that there is a few 18s that are, and just, I guess it opens up to, are you a sandbagger 18? Because I've seen some 18s shoot like 79 before. But even then, 18's kind of on the outside edge. I don't really see really good sandbaggers under like a 15 or over a 15. I'm sorry. Like, I could see a 14 be like an 8, but I couldn't see an 18 be like a 12. You know what I'm saying? Or a 10. So a typical 18, like, I mean, Tommy Fleetwood's dad is an 18. He's like, I don't think he's getting out of here alive, you know? So it is it's an interesting thought exercise, but it's not even, it's such a case by case thing, because there's some 18 handicaps that hit it 300 yards, you know, and then there's some 18 handicaps that hit it 130 yards off the tee. Like, those are those old guys we talked about that just hit it on a beeline every time. I would give them a better chance at Oakmont than I'd give the 20-some-year-old 18 handicapper that hits it 80 yards offline, bombs it, you know, because you just got to keep the ball in front of you, man. And that is going to be, fairways hit this week is going to be a huge number. And then bogey avoidance and double bogey avoidance. Like, I guarantee you, if a guy walks off the course and has no double bogeys, he's going to be pretty satisfied with his round. Just avoiding that big number is going to be paramount, like it is at every U.S. Open.
Yeah, we've got, I'll pop this Rory quote up from here because we've seen a ton of this stuff this week, but Rory's had a few good ones. This is from Rory McIlroy Tracker on Twitter. Adam Scott hit every fairway on the front nine and shot 3 over. Also on site Monday was Rory McIlroy, who used the 3-wood en route to making bogey on the 298-yard par 3 eighth. Lynch said a veteran club member reminded McIlroy that Johnny Miller made 4 when he shot his historic 63 to win the 1973 U.S. Open, to which McIlroy replied, that's great. Did he make a 7 on number 2 as well? McIlroy told Lynch that the triple bogey came despite hitting 3 good shots. And I think Rory also yesterday in his presser said something to the effect of, I birdied the last 2 holes and shot 81. Like, in a practice round, because we've always talked about the pressure of golf, and it comes into every single tournament, whether you're an amateur player that goes out and plays your, city am and you feel pressure, or these professionals that can go out there and play for fun with their buddies and shoot in the 50s, shoot low 60s, just dicking around. And then this event, I mean, obviously he's trying to, not necessarily trying to shoot a number. He doesn't care. It's Rory McIlroy. He knows how good he is. But when you go out there in a practice round and shoot 81, when you're probably not grinding as much as you would be and more having fun, where generally you see better scores in golf for most players, especially these guys. I mean, I don't know what to think. And I really hope that this isn't all overblown. Like, do I want to see everybody over par? Maybe that's part of my pick'em this week. Maybe that's in my bets. Do I want to see the winner at over par? Yes. But do I want to see, like, basically what you'd see on a Saturday morning at your typical public course? Not necessarily. I think there's a good medium of a guy that, I hope the guy that wins it just has some really quality. I mean, he's going to have really quality golf shots. Instead of, I want to see somebody win this tournament. Let me put it that way.
You don't want to see a pillow fight down the stretch?
No, I want to see somebody go out and win this tournament, because right now, if you had to ask me, I feel like whoever's leading this is going to be like 2 or 3 shots up, maybe in the middle of Saturday, late Saturday, or early Sunday, and just start falling apart and making bogeys. And whoever can hold on and make the most pars ends up winning it. And I don't necessarily want to watch that. I want to see somebody either make really clutch pars and a few birdies down the stretch to win it, or somebody that's just very solid versus someone that's, 5-shot lead, 4-shot lead. I don't think that'll happen here, but if you have a guy that does that, you're like, all right, when does he start making mistakes, and how quickly does he realize that he's about to win the U.S. Open? Then that transfers into his mind, and he starts making bogeys, making bad swings, and just derails himself. So I hope we don't see that this week.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I definitely would like to see somebody step up and win it, but that is the beauty of the U.S. Open, is every single dude is going to have bad holes. Nobody's going to go out on Sunday and fire a bogey-free round. I just don't think that's in the cards for this week, it seems. But I want to talk about that par 3, that the number 8 measures 290 yards. I was just thinking about it while you were talking. And what if, because Monday Q Info talked about it on Twitter as well, like love it, hate it, in between, but ultimately everybody in the field is playing this hole. So whether it's a par 7 or a par 2, it doesn't matter. You're playing against the field, and they're all playing the exact same hole. So what if they just changed it to a drivable par 4? How many guys are laying up there. If it changes your mind completely about it's a par 3, you're in your mind, you're like, I shouldn't not be able to reach a par 3 in 1. And I have played a hole at Murphy Creek that's like 260 yards into the
I
wind.
remember
And I
you
think
bashing driver there.
and I hit it like front fringe maybe. So I hit it maybe 240. There was a lot of wind that day. So it was a very windy day. But I was honestly just thinking I would be hitting driver and still playing it like a par 4. I would be laying up depending on how firm it is. If I could get a low, like a medium trajectory draw going in there, then maybe, because it kind of works right to left. But I would most likely be hitting driver 20, 30 yards short of the green and pitching it on and trying to get up and down. Like I think it's a great hole because it makes guys think. Like it, and I mean, it doesn't have to be long to make guys think because there's plenty of short par 3s, but just a par 3 in general, if it makes a dude think and not just, it's this club, it's right here, it's being strategic about what you're going to do. Because even like Colin Morikawa, I would consider a short player. He hit driver there yesterday. There's plenty of other guys hitting driver off the tee that are not short players. So at what point is it worth it to them to leave it like 15, 20 yards short in the fairway rather than trying to go for the green, missing it in the rough, and then you've got a mangled lie that you maybe can't even keep on the green. So it is going to be a lot of strategy on that hole. But I would personally hate it just because I am not the longest hitter in the world. And I don't think a lot of these guys appreciate it either. Like you said, Victor Hovland, once the head covers come off, things it gets a little silly. But it's going to be a must-watch hole just to see. And Xander Schauffele said it the other day, the carnage out there, that's what people root for. That's why people love the U.S. Open. He's like, they want to see us suffer. And so he gets it. Like that. I think the players kind of understand what they're in for this week, it seems like.
Yeah, well, just going back to the short par 4 idea of it, it's so true because I'm a decent golfer, right? Nowhere near the planet of all these guys that'll be teeing it up at the U.S. Open. But if I had a par 4 where I drove it 20 yards short of the green, my mind is like, I'm making birdie every single time here. This is a hands down easy birdie. When I hit it 20 yards short on a par 3 and I have to get up and down for par, I'm like, I can't make par. There's no way I can make par from here. And that's, I definitely have a little weaker of a mindset, definitely weaker than every single one of these guys, weaker than you. But that's how my mind goes.
No, I get that. But funny enough for me, the lower the par, the higher my expectation. Like I can't make 4 here. When I have to get up and down from 20 yards, like when I have a 6-footer for par, it feels much more important. And like, I'm much more focused on a 6-footer for par than I am for birdie, because par is still like a decent score. If I miss that 6-footer, I'm going to be upset, but I'm still writing down a par on the scorecard if I miss that. If I have a 6-footer for par, I'm like, holy shit, I cannot miss this. I cannot make a bogey here, because I'm more just about trying to avoid bogeys so I don't make that many birdies. So everybody's mindset is a little different, like you said, but if I'm 20 yards short of a par 3 and off the tee, I'm like, fuck, I got to get this up and down. Whereas if it's a par 4, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to obviously try to hit it close, but I'm not necessarily going to press to make 3. It's, if I make 4, I make 4, but on a par 3, I'm like, I got to make a 3 here. So pars are just more important in my mind than birdies are, which I don't know if that's good or bad. That's just how my mind works.
No, and I think the opposite of that is where I lay is like, I know I'm going to make a few bogeys. And so when I hit it 20 yards short on a par 3, I'm like, okay, this is 4. But then those birdies become more important to me because I need to make birdies to make up for the bogeys. Whereas like, yeah, I can get on par runs, but once I start making a few bogeys, my mind immediately goes to, all right, now I need to make birdies to try to get it back to level par. All right, let's get into, you want to do the weather report? You got your Yinzer ready to go?
Yeah.
Should we hop into it? All right. Now sending it over to Aaron Rodgers, the new Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, with the weather report from Oakmont, Pennsylvania.
What's up, guys? I I didn't know if you guys knew this or not, but I'm married now. That's why I have a wedding ring on at this press conference. I've been married for several months. So enough of the questions about the wedding ring. Okay, so we're going down to Oakmont, Pennsylvania, Yinzer country, near Pittsburgh, for fuck's sake. Thursday, we've got 87, mostly sunny, 6% chance of rain, not much wind. Friday, 86, partly cloudy, 24% chance of rain. Saturday, 75, 55% chance, scattered thunderstorms. And Sunday, we've got 78, 50 percent chance of moisture. And it is going to be an absolutely balmy one there Thursday, Friday. The humidity is going to be through the roof. I can just feel the air from where I sit right now. So it is going to be a phenomenal week of weather. It's going to be a wet one. It's going to be it's going to add an element to Oakmont. And that is your weather report. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Aaron. Well, I have to ask, was fuck's sake on the teleprompter? Was that on there?
Good night, San Diego, and go fuck yourselves. That was not on the teleprompter. No, that was actually good. I was thinking about, like, Aaron Rodgers doesn't really have an accent, so I couldn't really do the Aaron Rodgers, but that's easier to do than a Pittsburgh accent. Like, do you have any idea what a Pittsburgh accent sounds like?
No, I could pick one out of a voiceover, but I couldn't do it myself. I basically got like Borat and maybe a little Italian and Australian. That's basically all I've got in my repertoire.
Yeah, I go from English, and then it dips into Australian, then it dips into South African, and then it goes to like Southern. My accents are not strong. Maybe one of these times we could pay someone to do a cameo. Like, there is that dude on TikTok that's like, you gonna come down the house? Like, he's this Pittsburgh guy that's absolutely fucking hilarious. I was thinking about, like, if we could pay him to do a cameo of the weather report in his Yinzer accent, but maybe we do that going forward. That would be fun to get a cameo for the weather report.
I like that. All right, let's hop into the pairings and some of the grouping. So I just want to get all my graphics that I worked on out here. So we're going to make sure we're doing that. Here's some of the featured groups for you for this week's U.S. Open. Early, late, we've got Ludwig, Adam Scott, Hideki Matsuyama. Also, Xander Schauffele, Jose Luis Ballester, and Bryson DeChambeau. And then Shane Lowry, Justin Rose, Rory McIlroy. They did a full European grouping there. Rory getting to play with his friend Shano again, where he had a few good rounds at the last major, of course. And Rory, or not the last major, excuse me, the Masters, and, you know, buddies getting to play with each other. And then we've got Minwoo Lee, Justin Thomas, and Brooks Koepka. Kind of a fun group to watch. I guess Brooks, I don't know if I was sentelled or not, but Brooks Koepka said that Oakmont wasn't that tough of a course. So I don't know if he's just being facetious or he's just being Brooks Koepka, or that was a fake quote to just get.
Yeah, if that was the PGA Tour handle with TUOR. Like,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Those will get us from time to time. So yeah, because I saw the same thing and I'm like, is this legit? Are these guys? Is he being serious? So I don't know.
And then I have some issues with the USGA here on this next pairing. I may be tipping my hand at some of my big bet energy picks, but how do you put Jon Rahm with the fucking broke down Dustin Johnson and then the spazzy Jordan Spieth? Like, Jon Rahm's not going to be able to focus for the first 2 rounds playing with that fucking shitty group. But maybe I'm just mad. Maybe, you know, maybe I'm just upset.
Did you hear Dustin Johnson this week? They're like, have you ever played a harder track? He's like, I don't, like, they stumped him by just asking if Oakmont was the hardest golf course he's ever played. Like, that dude's 2 brain cells are going to be working overtime this week.
Well, he's already won here, so he doesn't give a fuck. He's like, I've already won at this place. I don't care. And then this is a good pairing too. Victor Hovland, Colin Morikawa, and Scottie Scheffler. So real quick on these featured groups, I don't know if you have any other pairings you wanted to talk about, but on these featured groups, does the 2025, the 125th U.S. Open champion come from these 6 featured groups? I think I'd put it at like 80-20 that it does.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, obviously Bryson, you've got the top 5 dudes in the field that have the highest odds on favorite to win the event. So, and you have Scottie Scheffler, who's just an absolute machine. So if you were to give me that against the field, that would be minus odds. That would probably be minus 200 or 300 to win the tournament this weekend. So let me pull up the pairings here. Let's see what we got.
Well, I've got an article here from golf.com, which is the 10 most entertaining groups ranked. So let's see what do you think they have as number one? The number one most entertaining group ranked. This is a pretty easy one. We actually just talked about it.
Bryson's group, or the Spieth Rahm group?
Spieth, Rahm, and Dustin Johnson is up there at number one. And then Xander, Jose Luis Ballester, and Bryson is number two. They have Victor, Colin, and Scottie at three. I don't think, to me, that's not very entertaining. I mean, that's good golf, but it's not all that entertaining. Let's see. Number 7, Cam Smith, Brian Harmon, and Phil Mickelson.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Quite the 2 lefties in one group.
Oh, well, we've got a menage of lefties in Akshay Bhatia, Matt McCarty, Robbie McIntyre group. So
wow, I love that. That might be my favorite group.
3 southpaws. My favorite non-featured group that I actually think all 3 of these dudes, I don't think all 3 of them can win, but I think all 3 of them could have good showings. You've got the 7-18 tomorrow morning, Harris English, Tommy Fleetwood, Keegan Bradley. Those are 3 very solid ball strikers, 3 grizzled veterans, 2 of them that know how to win, 1 that's got a major. But Harris English, when we were doing the roundtable the other night, a couple of guys were on the Harris English top 10 train, because he is pretty low on the totem pole as far as betting goes. So,
and another interesting group, Corey Connors, Jason Day, and Patrick Reed. Like throwing Patrick Reed in there with 2 of the most like chill Australian, then Corey, of course, is a Canadian, very good players. But like that's a group right there where I feel like score wise could all be in the 80s every day. Maybe not Corey Connors. Corey Connors is a little more consistent, but Jason Day could easily shoot 85 or shoot 68. And same with Patrick Reed. You just don't know what you're going to get out of a couple of those guys. And then they put the best player in the world right now, Joaquin Niemann, with Bud Cauley and Daniel Berger.
Yeah, that seems like a bit of a disrespectful pairing. I mean, Bud Cauley is a legit player, but obviously haven't heard his name for quite a while. And Daniel Berger's kind of similar, coming off injury and just getting his sea legs back underneath him. So Joaquin Niemann, I feel it's a little disrespectful in that pairing. We've got Tom Kim, JJ Spawn, Taylor Pendrith, not a bad group. Ben Griffin, Andrew Novak, Maverick McNeely. That could be just a vibes group where Ben Griffin and Andrew Novak vibe off each other and both play pretty good rounds. They're both pretty similar dudes. I mean, we've talked about Novak and Griffin on this pod. Obviously, have already won together this year, but both of them just have this gritty, like, stick it out, fucking make pars, get up and down out of a paper bag type of shit. So I think that could be a good group as well.
The most diverse group by far, in my opinion, is the Tyrrell Hatton, Sanjay M, and Sepp Straka group. That has got to be the most diverse. 3 different types of games, 3 different players, 3 different nationalities. Of course, you got Tyrrell as just the most electric player in the world. Love to get him on a hot mic this week. I mean, he's already had videos come out where he's just like, what was the phrase he used in that video? Did you watch that? There was a phrase that he used, and it was so just European, and I want to use their phrases so bad, and I can't get myself to latch onto them.
Did he say this is absolutely mad? Like, I love, that's when they're like, oh God, this is crazy. It's absolutely mad. Maybe I don't think that was it, but Ryan Fox last week, he's like, let's go have a crack at it. Like a crack is, I guess, is like go have a shot, have a good time. Another very diverse group.
Here, I'm going to play it.
Both
Tyrrell's video.
The audio is terrible.
I'm still here.
I only saw it because I'm standing here. He said that's unreal.
That plenty of Americans say unreal.
He's like, I saw it bounce. It's not plugged. It's just down there.
I love how you're commentating this video of Tyrrell Hatton. That's fucking good.
Great podcasting.
Yeah, very good. One other very diverse group, ethnically and game wise: Johnny Vegas, Michael Kim, and Matthew Pavon. We got Globetrotters there, and a couple guys that know how to fire in the 80s. Pavon could have a fucking tough time this week. I mean, he was making 12s at the RBC Canadian Open. What's it going to look like out here? So, James Nicklaus, have you seen this guy? He's a pretty popular social media TikTok golfer. He actually qualified right over here at Canoebrook, which is about 15 minutes from where I live. They have a sectional there. But James Nicklaus, he's posted a lot of videos about the course and all that stuff. He's a great follow. He is one of the last tee times off with Tyler Weaver and Riki Kawamoto. There is a few dudes in this field where you're like, who the hell is that guy? And that is kind of the beauty of the U.S. Open. You're like, is this my server at a Chili's, or is this a professional golfer playing in the U.S. Open?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of guys like the Jose Luis Ballester will be a fun one, and Mark Hubbard's playing with Lasasso, which is just a great last name. And I know there's just so many stories that come out of it, and I hope we at least get one or two of these guys that's not supposed to be here, fires a good Friday, good Thursday, Friday, makes the cut, and is like, oh, I mean, this could be a life-changing week. This is a life-changing week for pretty much anyone that wins this. I mean, we haven't even talked about, I think, is it both Phil Mickelson and Jordan Spieth with the chance for the career Grand Slam this week? Is that correct?
I think you are correct.
Or like Phil Mickelson for sure. I don't know. I don't think Spieth's won the U.S. Open.
I think Spieth is the PGA Championship, isn't he?
No, I think he's won a PGA Championship.
He's
one
real
quick.
No, he's won the Masters, the U.S. Open, and the Open. He's the PGA Championship away
he's the
from
PGA.
It, so.
Okay. Well, we don't have to worry about Mr. Spazzy Spieth all week fucking up John Rahm's round. Just hopefully John gets out of there unscathed through Thursday, Friday, and has some actual golfers to play with on Saturday and Sunday.
I also saw that Luis Ballester, I think, played his first round as or he's on the Live Tour now already. I think he played this last week in Virginia and played like dog shit. Like, I think he fired a few rounds maybe in the 80s. So could be an interesting week for him as well.
Yeah, one tweet real quick. Justin Thomas is getting behind. We talked about it earlier, the 18 handicaps playing this course. So Justin Thomas tweeted, so much talk about what would X handicap shoot at Oakmont. Why don't we just find a way to make it happen? Have a 5, 10, 18, whatever handicap, play Monday after the U.S. Open. Back tees, full rules of golf, and see what happens. May have to let a few groups through and allow for 6 to 7 hours, but I think we're all here for it. No. And like, I think there's a legitimate shot that with how much the PGA Tour and professional golf in general is combining with content creators, like, let's get a content creator that everybody enjoys that is not so great of a player. I mean, they're all not up to this level clearly, but even a guy that's like not a quote unquote scratch golfer, self-proclaimed scratch golfer, but let's get like a Robbie Berger or somebody that people enjoy watching, get their film crew out there Monday after the U.S. Open and let them after it. And let's see what happens, because I think everybody, the PGA Tour players would enjoy watching that. The people that already watch their shows would obviously enjoy that. And then it kind of settles this debate and gives us a barometer, because as we saw in the video earlier from the DP World Tour, yes, there were some answers, 150, 110, whatever, but we don't truly know until it happens. And so I think there's enough steam behind this that obviously probably won't happen this week at Oakmont, but certain times when we have these major championships, I bet at some point we'll get a content creator out there for 18 holes that can give us a raw score. And then after that, it's like, oh, can you beat this guy's 142 or whatever it ends up being? But I think it needs to happen.
Well, I think I just saw the foreplay guys were out there, And I could be wrong, but I think I saw that Riggs, they played the back tees. Riggs is a self-proclaimed 4 handicap, which is the most questionable 4 handicap I've ever seen in my entire life.
Are you being a
But
hater? Do you need to play him?
maybe I do.
Can we
Yeah,
start the train now? I would love that.
yeah, I would bury Riggs, that fucking cross-eyed bum. But I think he shot like 106 at Oakmont from the back tees and everything, and that's from a 4 handicap, so more like an 8 or a 10. But double that over par if you're an 18 handicap, and there you go. So there is one other hole out here. I can't tell which hole it is, but have you seen guys hitting putts from 150 yards out on this hole?
Yes, I guess I don't know if this was also just a facetious tweet, but they said the fairways were rolling at a 13. And that was part
Yeah.
of that's probably facetious, but dude, the greens, like you mentioned, the greens weren't that fast earlier. I thought I saw some stuff that was legit that said they were good 15, 16. I don't know if that's just normal for these guys or what like Augusta rolls at, but that seems
No,
to me like pretty fucking fast.
it's because of all the slope in the greens, but I think if you get an actual flat putt, it's not like they're just lightning fast on their own. And that is the tough thing with having greens with massive slopes is you can't get them going that fast. Like if you have that big of slopes and they're rolling 14, then you're gonna have guys putting it off greens. You're playing 7-hour rounds. So if you're putting pins in very sloped areas, and you just can't have the greens that fast, like they cannot be lightning quick. So, but I obviously they're very fast relative to everything else. And did you see did you see the maintenance crew out there with like little hand trimmers, like fucking trimming shit in the fairway? Like I saw somebody tweet, these guys got your barber's clippers giving the fucking fairways a number 2 fade. I was like, I like that shit. So that was pretty good too. But yeah, the conditions look impeccable. I mean, the fairways look perfect. The greens look perfect. The rough, they're saying the rough is just like thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. There's really like I guess I've heard that there's been longer rough, but they've never seen it like this dense and thick. So, I mean, you get like a warm and rainy May and into June like they've had up here in the tri-state area. It's going to be, the rough is fucking damn near impossible to get out of. So
yeah, it's going to be a fun watch. All right, let's get to our picks and then we'll finish this pod up with a what the fuck Wednesday, as we do every single Wednesday on Big Drive Energy. Our final big bet energy picks for the 2025 United States Open. There they are. I'll start with mine and give some insight. Jon Rahm at plus 1,500. This was a DraftKings boost. Full disclosure, I had a mystery boost for 25%. So I think Jon Rahm is sitting on the market on DraftKings at plus 1,200. I was on record saying that he had absolutely no chance at the PGA Championship a couple weeks ago. I did not think, even though he top 10s every live event, that's like beating your son's 12U team and hitting a home run off one of their pitchers in baseball. Like it's just not a ton of competition there to top 10. And so I was extremely wrong on that. And now I'm going to go fully the opposite way and say that I think he's going to win this event. I think he learned a lot from the PGA Championship, obviously played very well, had a lead for a bit of that, played, basically one-on-one with Scottie Scheffler for a good amount of that time and then kind of faltered down the stretch. But I think just his consistency of hitting the ball in the fairway, doesn't make a ton of mistakes. He's a decent putter. I think Jon Rahm has a really good shot at plus 1,500 to win this week. This next pick, Viktor Hovland at plus 450 in the top 10. Viktor Hovland hasn't won a major yet, but he's been knocking on the door and been playing some good golf again this year after his 7th swing coach change over the past, 2 to 3 years or whatever it is. Hopefully he's settled into that. And then my final prop bet is the winning score being over 278.5, which is basically level par, right around there. I think the winner of this week is +1 or +2, which would get me that winning score of over 278.5. And as I mentioned earlier on the pod, I am taking a singular bean flyer on plus 50,000 at a player to play all 72 holes bogey free, because that's just too fun to not bet on.
Yeah. Oh, that's where the sportsbook sketch is. They just throw something out there that's so fun that you can't turn it down. It's like touch tunes at a bar. You're like, I gotta throw a couple bucks on that. So for my picks this week, I've got Sepp Straka at plus 5,000. I think it's just a great value. Obviously, this is Scottie Scheffler's tournament to lose, but Sepp Straka being a top 5 golfer in the world right now at plus 5,000, I think the value is too good not to throw some shillings on it. Keegan Bradley, he does really well at tough golf courses. He's just a grinder. He knows how to get the ball in the hole. Plus 450 to top 10. And what could be more patriotic than Keegs playing well at the U.S. Open, being the U.S. Open Ryder Cup captain? Good God. This graphic is like freaking me out. Some of the words look closer and some look further away. It's like I'm having an optical illusion right now. And then Cameron Smith plus 450 top Australian. I do think Jason Day is going to have a tough week this week. He's not very good at keeping it in the fairway. He's got a good short game, but I just think he's going to struggle off the tee. And then you've got Leishman, you got Adam Scott, but I do think Cam Smith is the best Aussie going right now. So I am rolling with Cam Smith plus 450 top Australian.
I love it, and I'm not the greatest golf bettor in the world. I do disagree with you on this one, and not saying that means anything, because like I said, I'm not just captain hit all
so
my
that
bets.
Means I should take it.
But I think Minwoo Lee will be the top Australian this week. I think Minwoo Lee's got a sneaky shot to like compete and maybe win this event.
It was actually funny the other day. Missy we were just watching golf, and she was throwing out a few names, and she goes, "Where's Minwoo Lee been?" And then she goes, "Are they not letting him eat?" Like, and I was like, "Do you mean they're not letting him cook?" And she's like, "Oh my God, I sound like such a boomer right now." It was fucking hilarious. She's like, "Let him eat." I'm like, "It's let him cook." But I guess, if you cook, the point is to eat. But Minwoo has not been cooking or eating lately. So I do not see a high finish for him in the future. But that could be your indicator to bet him, because I am a self-proclaimed mush. Although, real quick, let's also touch on this. Who are you taking in your one and done?
Oh no, I actually haven't decided yet. I might take Rahm. I might take John Rahm if I still have him. I haven't looked if I have him or not. And then I don't know, probably. Oh, I don't know. I mean, you, Mr. Segment 3 winner. Who do you have this week? Maybe I'll just tail.
Well, I have got. Who did I need to?
Because I think I've already used my Bryson card. I'm too scared to use the Joaquin Neiman card. I've already used the Justin Thomas card. Maybe Corey Connors, but I don't know. Maybe Russell Henley, because he just seems to play well at every tough course. I know Russell Henley's going to be in the top 5 at some point during this week. And I'm going to say I should have bet Russell Henley. It happens every tough course.
I picked him at the PGA Championship, and he played like dog shit. Maybe the golf course wasn't hard enough for him. But I'm rolling Joaquin Neiman. I do think that he has a very good chance. He just hits that low bullet off the tee. That it's an old Lee Trevino thing. He's like, if I can't miss the fairway, I just keep it low. Because if you don't get it fucking up in the air, it's pretty hard to get offline. So I think we could see Joaquin Neiman just hitting these low bullets down the fairway. And then I got Keegan Bradley. So I did get the Venmo for the segment 3 winner the other day. That felt pretty tasty. I do need to get a banner hung. It's like the Indianapolis Colts AFC playoff participant, like segment 3 winner of the 2025 one and done. But I felt pretty good about that. And in all honesty, it's funny because I look back and I think I had maybe accumulated like $4 million before this segment. And then this segment alone, I made $9.5 million, I want to say. So I definitely popped off. I picked 2 winners. I picked Justin Thomas and I picked Scottie Scheffler. So that's 8 million right there. So that was obviously very helpful, but it was rough sledding up until that point. And I think that's kind of where you're still at. We used to be butted up next to each other on the leaderboard, and now I'm in the top 5 and I'm
pissing into the wind down at the bottom. Fuck.
So you haven't picked yet?
No, but I haven't decided yet.
And it is interesting strategy as well, because these live guys you can only use at the majors. So you're like, I can't waste. You have to pick the amount of guys you're like, I need to get this guy picked at one major or the other. But I still have Rory McIlroy in my back pocket. I think I'm going to hold on to him until the Tour Championship, because that might as well be Rory McIlroy Country Club. But we'll see what happens. I've used literally everybody else. Like, I went through the top 25 in the FedEx, or the top 15 in the FedEx Cup. I think I've used every single dude. So these last two segments could be slim pickings for Migsy.
Yeah, but you've already got your win. It's like when you win a World Series or a Super Bowl and then you just have shit for the next 10 years. It's like you got the win, you won money, you won your money back plus a lot more. So you're kind of just free balling right now.
Yeah, when I made these picks, I was kind of like, fuck it. I already made some money. I'm just kind of firing from the hip at this point. So everything is just gravy on top. But I would like to stay. I think if I finish 5th, I make around $500. So I would like to hold my place. But if I don't, I already made my money back and then some. I'm in the clear.
Yep, you're in the clear. All right, let's wrap this U.S. Open preview pod up with what we do every single Wednesday, What the Fuck Wednesday. I'll start it out. Mine just happened to me yesterday. Is right when I did it, I was like, oh my God, this is going on What the Fuck Wednesday. So I'm at Whole Foods just picking up some corn. I grilled some steaks and corn last night. So I'm at Whole Foods and I buy some cookies, which I can never just buy what I needed. I have to buy extra food at Whole Foods or anywhere I go grocery shopping. So I buy this corn, buy these cookies, and I'm like, cool, I'm going to eat these cookies right when I get in the car. I'm pretty hungry right now. This is what I bought these for. I bought these for an Insta snack.
Yes, there's nothing better than this is for me right now. You go to the car, you turn the car on, don't even think about putting it in drive, and you just get down.
Exactly.
I usually get myself a little chocolate milk. That's my Whole Foods reward. I get a small, and then I think I wonder what people think of me walking out, a grown ass man with a little thing of chocolate milk sitting in my car, just fucking gulping that thing down like an absolute sicko.
They see no car seat in the back and they immediately realize how fucked up it is. But no, so I have a Zyn in, obviously, as I always do, and at the store, and I'm like, I'm so prepared to eat these cookies that I see a trash can next to the self-checkout where I'm like, okay, I'm going to throw my Zyn in this trash can so I can get down on these cookies the second I sit down in the car. Well, I try to throw it in this little mini trash can. It sticks to my finger and goes onto this lady's sandal that's checking out next to me.
Oh, no.
So I'm like,
oh, fuck.
I'm mortified. I'm like, oh my God, this is so bad. So I'm kind of reaching down and trying to see if I can scrape it off her sandal. She kind of gives me a quick look and I just throw it away and walk out as fast as I can. It was so bad.
Oh my God. Yeah, that is a tough look. That is Missy's number one gripe with me. Whenever I say something about her leaving anything sitting anywhere, she's like, your fucking Zyns are sitting all over this apartment. She's like, there's one on the coffee table. There's one next to your nightstand. There's one here. She's like, I don't want to hear it. I'm like, I picked those shits up. But yeah, occasionally I did find one just sitting in the middle of the kitchen floor the other day. I'm like, how did that get there? And it seemed fresh. I don't know if it fell out of my mouth as I was motoring around, but it was not dry by any means. So my What the Fuck Wednesday isn't really funny. It's more it pisses me off, but my thumb injury is creeping back now. The amount of golf I've been playing, my left thumb and my pointer finger in the area in between is just in a fucking bundle, right? I think I need to start wearing a wrist brace like I'm 80 years old, because this thumb scenario, and the problem is the more I rub it and try to make it feel better, the more it hurts. So it is truly, thumbs are some of God's greatest gifts. Have you ever thought about trying to operate with no thumbs? It's borderline impossible.
No, so it would be, impossible.
Yeah. You can't button a fucking shirt. You can't do anything. So I'm trying to figure out how I can not use this left hand. I just need to play less golf, I guess. I've been playing too much golf, and it's one of those things where I forgot about it. It went away because I didn't play that much golf, and now I'm starting to play more and hit more balls, and it is coming back. So I don't want to get surgery on it. I'm a real man. I'd rather bitch about it for the rest of my life and just be in pain. But I was playing golf the other day and I wasn't even thinking about it because I just kind of, just blur pain out, unless it's something that's super severe, but it's just kind of that nagging feeling. And I was like, God, why am I afraid to hit the ground? And I'm like, yeah, because my fucking left hand is in shambles right now. So I'm going through it with my thumb. I need to I don't know how I can do it, but I need to ice it somehow. And then I've tried that as well. So it's just, I don't know if anybody has a good idea on how to fix their hand. I've honestly considered acupuncture. That kind of concerns me. I feel like they could hit a nerve and my hand could be cooked forever, but I'm up for anything that's not surgery at this point.
Yeah. Any ideas, drop them in the chat, tweet us at Big Drive Energy Pod, Big Drive Energy Golf on Instagram, or at Big Drive Energy on TikTok. We appreciate you guys all tuning in for this edition of Big Drive Energy Major Preview, U.S. Open, Oakmont, starting tomorrow, very early. Make sure you're tuned in. It's going to be a lot of fun golf to watch. We'll be back Sunday afternoon with our live recap as the leaders come down the stretch of Oakmont Country Club. I'm looking forward to the carnage. Enjoy it out there. Give us a thumbs up on the way out if you're watching this on the YouTube, or if you're listening to it via audio, make sure you rate and like our show. We'd appreciate that. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy Oakmont Country Club. Enjoy the players shooting 1 million over par. We will talk to you on Sunday. Peace.